Hello everybody, this is my first in my top lists of Star Trek episodes. So I'm going to take it a bit at a time. So this is just about the original series, and then I'm going to do one on the Next Generation, and I'm going to do a bigger one on Deep Space Nine, and I'm going to do one on Voyager. Enterprise, I haven't seen the whole thing. I'm currently rewatching it to see if it can charm me, but Enterprise is definitely the worst of the old ones. I am going to tackle the new series the three new series at some point. I haven't been able to see Strange New Worlds because I haven't got Paramount Plus, but I have seen the Discovery and Picard series. So we'll talk about it at some point. But I want to start with my top 10 original series episodes. Then I'm going to do very soon a top 10 Next Generation episodes. And then I'm going to do top 20 Deep Space Nine episodes, because I think it's the best series. And then I'm going to do top 10 Voyager episodes. That's my plan, definitely for the next couple of months. So, top 10 original series episodes. Right, this is in order, I think, as well. So, top 10. Before I go on. So, Star Trek ran for 3 years, and there's 79 episodes in the original series to choose from. 3 seasons, 79 episodes. So, to do a top 10 is quite easy, although, having said that, I noticed that almost all of them are from season 1. So, I'm not sure if that's me having seen them more, or if that's just me saying that the first season's better than the others. I don't know. I think that's definitely true to some extent, because some I know are just incredible episodes. But it could be that I haven't seen the third season as much, or the second season as much. But this is my top 10 anyway. So 79 episodes to choose from. These are my top 10. Number 10 is an episode from season 1. So it's episode 16 from season 1. It's called Galileo 7. It's written by Oliver Crawford, and what was so cool about this, so basically Spock is sent with a bunch of other members of the crew on a shuttle to deal with something that's happening on a planet. But what's great about this episode is they don't trust his authority because they're a little bit wary of the Vulcan elements of his personality. And it's his first kind of moment of pure authority where it's up to him what happens, and he's not just an advisor. And it's so cool the way it's explored, because the character interaction is really good, and Spock has to deal with something that he's never dealt with before, and it's just done really well. And Leonard Nimoy is really good in it, and it's just the way that Spock's character is explored, and the way the sort of distrust with the other crew members is explored is really good. So, yeah, Galileo 7's number 10. Number 9 is Space Seed. So this is one of the most famous episodes, because obviously it led to the Wrath of Khan. So the Wrath of Khan is just unbelievable, and this is a really nice introduction for Khan. So it's a battle of wits, if you like, once it gets going. So the first half of the episode is definitely getting to know what's going on, and Khan and his crew kind of settling in because they get rescued by the Enterprise, but then they become a threat, and it just sort of plays out really well. The acting is brilliant. Ricardo Montalban was a great choice for Khan, and it's just done really well. And that's written by Carrie Wilbur, who I don't know who Carrie Wilbur is, but I'm going to try and say who's written these episodes as well as I go along. Number 8 choice is Spectre of the Gun. So this is written by Gene L. Kuhn, who co-wrote a lot of episodes as well. And this is from season 3. So this is the only one in the 10 that's from season 3. This is episode 6. And I really like this one. There's something about the way it's filmed as well. There's a really eerie atmosphere in the kind of half sets that are built, because it's like a Star Trek Western. So the idea is that they get sent to this place where they have to reenact the OK Corral gunfight, the showdown at the OK Corral. And it's really cool because They think they've just been put there as some sort of game, and then they realise it's much more serious than they think it is. And it just develops really well. The pacing's really good, and it's compelling to watch. And it's definitely, I know that it really hit me when I was a kid, when I watched it when I was younger, and I'd always sort of had those images in my head. So definitely have to include that. So that's number 8, Spectre of the Gun. Number 7 is Tomorrow is Yesterday. And that's written by DC Fontana, who wrote loads of Star Trek stuff, and she's a bit of a legend. Tomorrow's Yesterday is a really awesome and underrated episode, I think. Hardly anyone ever mentions it. And it's a really cool one where they end up back in the 60s. So for Star Trek, it would have been present day. And in the process of them just trying to figure out where they were and what's going on, there's a Air Force pilot that sees the ship. So they panic because they don't want to change the past, because obviously that will change the future. And they try and deal with it, and they deal with it in a way that just complicates it. And it's just really cool. It's a really good exploration of the butterfly effect. And I love any exploration of the butterfly effect anyway. But it's done so well, and the acting's really good. And the guy that plays the American guy from the 60s really pulls off this really awesome level of panic and level of urgency about where he wants to get home and he's just stuck on the Enterprise and that stuff like that. It's just really cool. And the dilemma that the crew face is really cool and very well thought out. So that's number 7. Number 6, A Taste of Armageddon. So A Taste of Armageddon is a really, really interesting episode, and one of those things that you can say Star Trek does really well, and one of those things that you can point to show how deep and allegorical Star Trek can get. And it's written by Robert Hamner, and it's an exploration of war, but probably just a big call for peace. Remember, this is broadcast at the height of the Cold War, and I think that's what this episode is getting at. And basically, the Enterprise ends up being involved in this civil war that is fake, but it's much more than that. And there's like an invented war. It's difficult to describe without just talking for ages about the plot. But it's just really cool because the resolution of the episode is an examination of how the idea of war and the idea of retaliation and the idea of being a victim and somehow having a response as a victim can perpetuate war, and how there needs to be some kind of line in the sand where it's drawn and it's about peace rather than war. That's what the episode's message is, and it's done really well. So that's definitely one I think is a good one to watch if you haven't watched a lot of Star Trek. So that's number 6. Number 5 is a really fun episode, and that's called This Side of Paradise. That's written by DC Fontana and Jerry Soule, and that's a really nice one where they land on the planet and they see that everybody's really happy, and it's just a bit odd because everyone's like insanely happy, like absolute bliss. And then they realise it's down to these spores that have been released from these plants, and more of the crew are getting this toxic happiness, if you like. But what's really nice about the episode, because it is a bit of fun, and you get Leonard Nimoy doing something really different with Spock, because he gets a chance to be very human and very loving and laughing and just doing stuff that Spock wouldn't normally do. So that's all really cool. But I think there's a really interesting question about sort of opiates in general and things that are made to make us feel happy, and the moral dilemma about how justified are they, how right will it be to have this sort of artificial happiness. You know, is happiness just happiness regardless of where you get it from? So I think that's an interesting question that gets brought up in that episode. So episode 4, we get into the big guns now. Episode 4 is Squire of Gothos. So that's another season 1 episode. All of these except for that one that was season 3 are all season 1 episodes. And this is written by Paul Schneider. And this is famously where a lot of people think, quite rightly really, that the idea of Q comes from. So Q's a major part of Star Trek in general, and obviously started in Next Generation. But the Squire of Gothos mirrors the abilities and power of Q. So it's just really cool because you don't know what's going on for a little part of the episode, and once you do know what's going on, you wonder how they're going to get out of it and how they're going to deal with this absolute twat that's messing around with them. And it's just really well played out, and it's brilliant, and it doesn't matter how many times you watch it, it's always enjoyable. So Squire of Gothos is a really, really cool one. That's my number 4. Number 3 is The City on the Edge of Forever. So this is famously written by Harlan Ellison. A lot of science fiction fans would know that he'd written this one because he complained that they rewrote the script and it's not the original script, and you can buy the original script that he wrote. But it's also one of the most popular episodes, and it's just a really, really good time travel one. It's another Butterfly Effect exploration about the idea that sometimes you have to let bad things happen to allow for the good things that follow that. So in case you haven't seen it, I won't get too detailed, but it's all about them going back in time and Kirk having this horrible dilemma and Spock telling him, you know, you've got to think about the future. And it's just so brilliantly done. So regardless of whether or not Harlan Ellison was annoyed about what they changed, it is a great episode. Choice number 2 is The Menagerie. So this is a 2-part episode. There wasn't a lot of 2-part episodes in the original series. There's loads more to come in the other series, and some of those were more successful than others. But this 2-parter is amazing, absolutely amazing. And this is written by Gene Roddenberry, which is kind of interesting. And what is so cool about it, it's a 2-part episode that's really compelling. It just keeps you absolutely gripped to the episodes all the way through both parts. But what's really cool, I think, is that they basically reused a lot of footage that they'd made for an unaired pilot, which had a different captain, a different cast, and all that sort of stuff. And they reused that footage and built a story around it and made a really interesting story about what happened to Pike, the original captain of the Enterprise, and the fact that what sort of surrounds that is this idea that Spock discovers that he needs to help Pike out, and he sort of takes over the Enterprise and they don't know what he's doing. It's another one that explores the courtroom aspects of a court martial as well, but it's just a fantastic episode. I've seen it a few times. I haven't seen it for a number of years, but every time I've seen it, I've absolutely loved it. So that's my second choice in my top 10 original series. And my first choice is written by Theodore Sturgeon, which is quite interesting because he's obviously a science fiction legend. And it's called Shore Leave. And Shore Leave is a bit of fun, but it's also sort of playing with your expectations. And it's just really well written, kind of the way it's developed. So it starts off a little bit mad, and then it starts making a lot more sense. And then it gets a little bit sinister. And it's just got a really nice tone, and the way the tones shift through the episode is really good as well. It's such a brilliant episode. So it's kind of light-hearted, but really well written and quite, very intelligent, I think. And that's another one from season 1, episode 15, that one. So Shore Leave, written by Theodore Sturgeon, is my choice for my all-time favourite episode of the original series. So that's my top 10 original series of Star Trek episodes. I quite enjoyed having a look to see which ones I would pick. There's tons and tons of people doing their lists of favourite episodes on YouTube, so I'm sure this will just get buried into the ether. But I thought it was a good time to do it, and I'm going to look into my top 10 Next Generation ones next. And then, as I said, because DS9 is my favourite, I'll do a longer one for DS9. Thanks for watching. Bye.